Let's get to our panel now this afternoon. Former Labor advisor, now at the McKell Institute, Darrin Barnett, and former New South Wales Liberal leader, Kerry Chikarovski. Great to see you both. Kerry, first to you. Andrew Clennell reporting the government planning to cut the beer tax in the upcoming budget. Discussions ongoing about the petrol tax. The government not confirming, obviously, yet this budget measure. But if they were to reduce the beer tax, would you welcome such a move, and do you think they will move when it comes to petrol too?
Well, personally, it would make no difference to me whatsoever, Kieran, because I don't drink beer. I'd be more interested in what they might do about wine, to be perfectly honest. But I do think that for people at the moment out there, people who like to go to the club and have their beer, they're talking a reasonably significant cut is the gossip, like 30 cents. I think they call it a schooner, 30 cents a schooner. So that's a reasonable cut if that's what they're actually thinking of doing. I know there's a lot of pressure coming on them from others who are opposed to any reduction in taxes because they see that it might be lead to an increase in people drinking too much. But I think in the community, it would be welcomed warmly. Would it be enough to change people's votes? I think that remains to be seen. I think the petrol excise is the bigger one. I think people are really struggling with petrol prices at the moment, and any relief, particularly if, for example, you're a tradie who's on the road, 24/7 almost. They're out and about. They're going from one side of the city to the other. And that's really hurting, And I think that's why state premiers are getting together and asking the federal government to do something about it. I mean, I know for Stephen Marshall, it's a relatively short period of time that he might be able to get something done. But for the others, elections are looming, so they would all be looking to the federal government to try and give some relief, not only for the political reasons, but for the practical reasons that we do need to keep people moving, and we need to keep transport moving at an affordable cost.
Darrin, so the beer tax cut, yes, looks like it's happening. Fuel, as I said, possible. You'd even say likely, given those three Liberal premiers are pushing for it, as Kerry alluded to there. But in an economic sense, probably doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense because it could get swallowed up in fluctuations pretty quickly. But politically, is it the right call because it sort of would show a government listening?
I think politically, in an election year, it's very likely to happen that people do feel that cost of living pressure, and really every election's cost of living pressure in a way, whether it's Medicare is cost of living for universal health care, whether it's climate change and a carbon tax. It's always about the effect on your hip pocket. People are struggling. Their wages haven't grown much in recent years. There's possibly some inflation, therefore leading to interest rate rises, and any sort of relief will be very welcome. And I think the government will look to alleviate some of that pressure. So I'd be very surprised if we don't see both of those happen before, it'll be leaked before budget day, but certainly it'll happen before the election.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there, Darrin. Darrin, this news poll today, obviously everyone got it wrong in 2019, but are people overcorrecting now because you've got a situation where Labor's primary vote's up over 40% pretty consistently, and Albanese, preferred Prime Minister, level pegging with Scott Morrison?
The preferred PM's a big one. The numbers on the raw numbers in terms of primaries and seats in the states are not dissimilar to what they were 3 years ago. But I think there was always a bit of a question mark, fairly or unfairly, about Bill Shorten. And a lot of those questions, when people are having a look at Anthony Albanese, they are very comfortable with what they're seeing. I think that's why you've seen the numbers even up. There's also just a bit more time where Scott Morrison's been the PM. People might have made their mind up a little bit more than they had 3 years ago. I think what's very interesting too is even little things such as the 60 Minutes episodes about Mr Albanese and the Prime Minister, more people tuned in to Anthony Albanese. I think people want to know more about him. Their basic position is they want to like him. They think he's probably a good bloke and he's probably very competent, and they want to learn more. That's a very good sign if you're trying to come in to the job as Prime Minister from opposition. Still a lot of water to go under the bridge, but some of those signs are very good for Labor.
Kerry Chikarovski, what's your read?
Oh, well, I agree with Darrin. I think that the difficulty for the Prime Minister, one, there will be the it's time factor, and I think that's always going to be a little bit hard for any incumbent government to overcome, particularly a government which in this particular instance has had a lot of things go wrong. I mean, we had a conversation at the end of last year, Kieran, where I said that if we get a good summer, we get a good COVID result, things keep going well for the economy, things go well in the climate space, no bushfires, no one expecting there to be floods. All of those things that we thought might happen, they've actually gone backwards. It's been tough. It's been really tough to be Prime Minister in this period of time. And to be fair, Anthony Albanese is running a very good strategy. He is not scaring people. I mean, I think the reality is last time, much and all as Bill Shorten didn't mean to, but he was actually scaring people with some of the policies that he was putting out there, and the government were able to seize on that and make sure that people were scared. This time, Mr Albanese is doing what good opposition leaders often do. He's a very small target. He's presenting, as Darrin said, as being very personable. He's been presenting as being very relatable. I'm one of you. I understand the issues. And all of that, I think, is probably resonating in a way which certainly didn't with Mr Shorten and may possibly get Mr Albanese into the lodge. But as Darrin said, there is still a few weeks to go, a couple of months to go. And the one thing we know about electorates at this time is that they are incredibly volatile. And who knows what it will be that will push the buttons of enough people to actually decide that they'll stick with the coalition.
Kerry, Darrin, great to see you both. Thank you. Appreciate